And away we go. It's the Awesemo Early Bird Podcast. No, it's not Dan Strafford. It's your old pal Emac filling in for Dan Strafford, who is covering me for Friday because my alma mater is tipping off at 6:50. The University of Washington, winners of the best record in the Pac-12 now. I keep defaulting to the Pac-10, Lofty, but they did make it to the championship game. They lost to Oregon. Oregon's beaten them twice. They're a 9 seed. I can't remember what I did with my one bracket, but I think I had them being upset, and then I went back and switched it because I didn't.
Who is it? Who's your alma mater?
Washington, University of Washington Huskies.
Okay, all right. Mine's Temple, and
oh, I thought you were Villanova.
No, I mean I root for them when they're good. You know, total bandwagon fan when it comes to Nova. Now into Temple.
Gotcha. So were you vaguely aware of who was it? Mark Macon?
No. When I went there, I didn't.
That was before. No, well, when you were a kid.
Even when I was when I was there, I didn't watch one single Temple game. Not one football game, not a basketball game, nothing. I commuted. I didn't live on campus. So
gotcha.
See, I went to IUP. It's a school in Pennsylvania. I lived there when I got out of high school. Made some mistakes, to say the least. Didn't last very long. Then I came back home. Went to community college, got my associate, and then went to Temple afterwards. So by that point, I was already like, I don't know, 22, 21 years old. So I was working a full-time job. I was commuting at the time. And I really didn't care about college sports. That's just the honest truth.
No, and that makes sense. And I happen to go to big school and all of that. So I enjoyed it, but it was. I went to a bunch of the basketball games. The men's team wasn't very good. The women's team was really good back at that point, but they'd always flame out in the tournament. But college sports always fun. And then my dad had season tickets for the Huskies. I found this is how important going to that at the University of Washington was. It was my senior year, and my dad was like, "Oh yeah, something." My dad, when he was here, I'm like, "Wait, your dad?" He's like, "Oh yeah, you're third generation University of Washington." I'm like, I am in my last year, and I've never heard that family story. So he had passed right after I was born, so I did not get to know him. But in any event, I was like, wait, what? That's kind of a fun story. And my brother went to the Washington State University, which is the arch rival. But in any event, let's get to NBA here. We've got some injury news here, and let's hit the highlights there. We know Kyle Lowry is out already, so of course Fred Van Elite is going to be in action. You go to my Twitter, I have a pinned tweet that has the Fred Van Elite fan club. I'm required to play him, but hey, there'll be some people joining me in this one. We know Justice Winslow missed his last game. He's still dealing with an injury. Dennis Smith Jr. is out. Avery Bradley is out. Mike Conley is doubtful, but they're going to give him a day of rest. What's his name? Alonzo Trier is out. They're going to reevaluate his injury next week. Is Kadeem Allen even up with the team? Let's see. Allen, he has an illness expected to play against the Nuggets. The Nuggets are the one team that is on the back-to-back. Let's see. Avery Bradley's out for a week. Just scrolling through here. Alan Crabb is out with a knee injury. Josh Hart is questionable with his own knee injury. Those Brooklyn and the Lakers are playing each other. Who knows what's happening with Magruder? I don't think we care. Lance Stevenson, who knows? LeBron listed as questionable but expected to play. Went through half of practice on Thursday. Giannis, and I'm going to take the Strafford role. Giannis Antetokounmpo is probable. Now he's missed the last 2 games, but he's probable at this point going against Milwaukee. But going against Miami. But we'll have to see what happens with that. This is March NBA. Let's see who else. There was a power forward I wanted to point out. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, Mirotic out with the broken or fractured something or other. He's out 2 to 4 weeks. Oh, Noah Vonleh. What happened with him this season? He started off like a house of fire, and he has just been getting some DNPs. He's dealing with an ankle injury now. His minutes are all over the place, but there's a chance he is not going to play on Friday. Just checking the centers here. Kenneth Faried, questionable. Nene Hilario, questionable. There's going to be some rest here and there with Houston. Now, they've said that they want to give Paul some time. They've said a game off. They've said they wanted to give Harden a game off. Paul played back-to-back, and he played some big minutes, Laffy. And remember, when he was out with his hamstring injury, they had said early on, what did he miss, like 10 or 12 games, and about 2 weeks into that, they said, hey, we're not going to play him on back-to-backs, and they didn't for a while, but they've kind of needed him, so they hang on to that third seed there. And in his last 2 games, which was a back-to-back, he played 29 minutes, and then he played 41 against Memphis in that overtime game. So it wouldn't surprise me if he gets a day, and I think Harden will get a day at some point. They've said they might try to do some in-game limits with their minutes, but we know we can't really bank on that because they still do need to win. Any other injuries that you have seen?
I think you hit them all.
All right, well, let's get on in here. Of course, this is the Early Bird Podcast, courtesy of Osmo.com. If you haven't signed up yet for Osmo, you can use the promo code EARLYBIRD, all one word, to get 50% off any 1-month package. That does include the Fantasy Cruncher add-on. And for those of you that are railbirds, as they say, we do have a free article, Cash Core Building Blocks, written by yours truly. But every day I write up a different Fantasy Cruncher tip of the day. So even if you've got other sources for other things, check that out, because there's been a lot of questions, and if you have questions, hit me up on Twitter, and I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability, just setting up screenshots saying, oh, for this particular slate, here's how I'd handle X. And it's a lot of fun. But Laffy, take it over. They want to hear what you've got to say. Point guard, you got Westbrook, you got D'Angelo, Revenge, Russell, you've got Chris Paul, Sweet Lou Williams, disappointing Jamal Murray on the back-to-back. Talk to me, fella. Talk to me.
Russell Westbrook is still too cheap. He was way too cheap last time out at 10-3 on DraftKings. I honestly thought it was 11-3 until I took another look. It's at 10-8. I'm still perfectly fine with it. It's 44 minutes in overtime. Big game. Listen, they lost that game to Toronto. And they lost the game to Toronto.
A shorthanded Toronto.
And fell to the 8th seed. They dropped to 8th. They have no chance of falling out of the playoffs. 99% chance of making the postseason. But it's also a little bit different when you're talking about a team that could swing so far from one to the other, from one seed to the next, when there are so many teams. That's like the more than a 99% chance, but these games are important. All of these games are important to them. They would much rather not face Golden State in the first round, rather face the Rockets. There's a chance, you work up to the 5, you face the Blazers, like ton of incentive going forward, absolute ton. So Russell Westbrook here is still very much in play. If come up $500, I don't care. I expect him to play close to 40 minutes in regulation again. So for that reason, just keep playing him. D'Angelo Russell coming off a spectacular game in that 44-point win, career high over Sacramento, come from behind win.
Never been done before, Laffy. 25-point deficit starting the fourth quarter.
Yeah, well, what did he score? 28 in the fourth or something? I mean, he had a ridiculous number of points in the fourth.
Well, he did yell, "He is built for this ish," shall we say? And he wasn't referring to ish. He scored 27 points in the fourth. 27 in the fourth quarter alone. Flashbacks of Klay Thompson there.
Yeah. Well, the difference is Klay Thompson did it in games where they just blew teams out against the Kings and Bulls. This was a close one. And just a friendly reminder that the Lakers traded him to clear out space to get LeBron James, pretty much. Chris Paul against the Spurs, also a notable game. They need to get wins here. They are right now 2 games back of the Nuggets. They could get the 2 seed, and they're probably still gunning for the number 1 seed. They're also only a half game ahead of the Trailblazers. So won't say a logjam between the 2 and 4, but it's still very close, which means that I don't expect Chris Paul to get rest right now. Not against the Spurs, especially given that the Spurs are in the division. And the Spurs right now are only a few games back of the Houston Rockets. I pay attention to all this stuff very closely because it gives you a very good idea of what the minutes are going to look like. Tyler Dorsey.
Oh, I was just going to bring him up, Luffy.
Yeah, I mean, it's ugly. I'm not feeling good about it by any means. DeLon Wright played 42 minutes last game. 42 minutes in that win over Houston. Averaged 0.5 fantasy points per minute. It was brutal, no question. But Dorsey is minimum salaries, the bare minimum. Like, you could do worse than that. I mean, you could actually do a lot worse than that, given that Mike Conley is doubtful. I thought he was questionable. He's doubtful. Dorsey's going to be chalk. There's no question. And mind you, I had a concern about this, and I stressed it, that DeLon Wright moving into the starting lineup, you're going to get more minutes, but you're going to play the bulk of those minutes alongside Mike Conley, who also played 42 minutes. With that being the case, your numbers are going to drop precipitously. So I think DeLon Wright is also very much in play. Take Mike Conley off the floor, replace him with Tyler Dorsey. It makes a huge difference. Fred VanVleet, Emmanuel Mudiay, assuming that the whole backcourt remains out. That's about it for point guard. And I'll throw Jamal Murray in there as well. Second of a back-to-back, totally scoring dependent, but that's about where we're at. I think I don't need to really go any further. Those are all the guys that I'm highest on.
Yeah, and then just a couple other names for those doing mass multi-entry. You have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You've got, of course, Pat Beverley. You've got Jordan Clarkson going against the Clips. So there's a variety of options here. Your mileage may vary. That's the crazy part. Moving on here to shooting guard. At the top, you got James Harden. Of course, DeMar DeRozan going against Harden should be interesting. You've got Sweet Lou Williams in Cleveland going against the Cavs. The Cavs are an absolute mess. We do not yet have a line on that game, but we did see Tristan Thompson play as well as Larry Nance in the last game. I figured they were just shutting down Thompson for the rest of the year, but that does put another NBA-type player. I think off memory, I think he played like 12 or 16 minutes, Thompson that is. So if this game stays closer than expected, you could see some nice action here from Lou Williams. What do you like at the 2 guard?
Yeah, I talked about Wright and Dorsey, both of them eligible there. VanVleet on DraftKings also eligible there. So there's a lot of ways that you can take the point guards that you really like, or shooting guards, and play them wherever you want. D'Angelo Russell, you can also get in there. Honestly, on the multi-position eligibility sites, it's a whole lot easier. Now, FanDuel, a bunch of these guys are shooting guard eligible as well. They're just only shooting guard eligible. James Harden against the Spurs. Look, I don't have an issue with Harden at all. You know, he's coming off a monster game against the Memphis Grizzlies, who he has just trashed all year long, with or without Paul. It's amazing. 57, 7, 8, 2, 2, 89 fantasy points.
I think he scored 57 NBA points in 2 of the 3 matchups, and I think it was 47 in the other, if I remember reading that blurb correctly.
Yeah, it's outrageous. I mean, it's just it never ends. I will say, though, I still do like Westbrook here a little bit more. You know, you're getting a $600 discount. Both matchups aren't great, but I'll take Westbrook at a slight discount. I'm not worried about either of these guys, though. Both Harden and Westbrook are in play. When you're looking at the high-priced players on this slate, Giannis is expected to play. I'm assuming he'll be healthy against Miami, though. Miami's actually my least favorite matchup of all of these. And look, nobody can really stop Giannis Antetokounmpo. I totally understand that. But very few, if any, teams limit points in the paint better than the Miami Heat do this year. They do a very good job of that. They do a great job of clogging it up and forcing you elsewhere. So it's not that I ever hate Giannis, but I prefer Westbrook and Harden above him. So it's pretty much that's where I stand there. If we're talking about, you know, mid-range, you have Lou Williams, also Clippers team jockeying for playoff positioning. So that's relevant against Cleveland. No line on that, but the Clippers should be like an 8-point favorite on the road. No, maybe 5-6-point favorite on the road. Pretty much all these guys with MPE are the ones that I like most, and we've already talked about most of them. I don't see like Dinwiddie, I think, is a very, very strong pivot, especially if everyone jumps on Russell after that last game. That would make a lot of sense. Once you start getting cheaper, though, outside of the guys we've discussed, I don't see myself really getting to anybody else that hasn't already been mentioned.
Yeah, and going off memory, I put it in the article the other day as Brooklyn was heading into Sacramento. Dinwiddie, I think, had led the team in scoring in 5 of their last 7 games before that D'Angelo Russell outburst. And then 4 different players in 7 games had led the team in rebounds. So the Brooklyn, your mileage may vary. I mean, they're a solid team. They're well ahead of schedule, I think, for what most of us thought. They're hanging on there to the 7 seed. Probably will make it. They've got the Heat are 1 game back, Magic are 2.5 back, and then 4.5 back Charlotte.
Wait, probably will make the playoffs, or will hold on to the 7 seed.
Make the playoffs.
Oh yeah, I mean they have a very good chance. Yeah. They're like 85% chance of making the playoff. 85% chance. Yeah.
And that's I just point out at this time of the year for the standings, because we get so focused on individual matchups and team matchups, a lot of times we forget about who's good, who's not. I mean, if you look at the Western Conference, you had mentioned it's a dogfight. Oh my God, there's teams 5 through 8 all have 42 wins, and the Jazz are trailing. Well, they were a minute ago. They're down by 9 at the half.
Yeah, you see Rudy Gobert's stats?
Yeah, he had 0 last time I looked. What does he got now? 1. He has 1 point.
Yeah.
1 point from the line. There you go, Rudy. There you go.
Where else would it come from?
Oh, goodness gracious. You've got, but Portland, Utah, sorry, not Portland at 44. Well, Houston at 45, Portland 44 wins, Utah 42, Clippers, Spurs, OKC are all tied at 42 and 30. I mean, things are going to move around a ton. And this is, we're standing by just waiting for the Kings, T-Wolves, and Lakers to be officially eliminated from that one. But there's a lot of moving around in the seedings. And I could see teams maybe taking a loss depending on how they feel they match up with whomever is at the top with Golden State, Denver, or the Rockets. So we still have a lot of fun ahead of us. Let's move on over here to small forward. Giannis should be playing. He is listed as probable. Tougher matchup against the Heat. He is averaging 50 plus fantasy points against them this season on the strength of 13 rebounds a game, 7.5 assists per game, 3.5 combined steals and blocks, or as you like to call them, stocks. I love that phrase. And I used to call them that way back in the day, but I didn't have a platform then, Laffy. So that was my mental thing, because I'd play a lot of rotisserie basketball season-long leagues, and you always were looking for the guys that could get the 3 club, the at least one 3-pointer, 1 block, and 1 steal per game. So there was some Shane Battier and just random guys like that were scoring 8 to 11 points a game, but they were giving you those peripherals. I don't have to worry about that anymore, but I love the term stocks. Talk to me. Giannis, LeBron James expected to play. You got Paul George going against Kawhi Leonard. You got Kawhi Leonard going against Paul George. We've got some choices here. Does anybody pop for you amongst that top quartet?
Not really. I really don't know what LeBron's minutes are going to look like. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if he plays like 28 minutes here. It would be surprising to see LeBron play a lot. I don't see the point. They are out. They are done. They have 0 chance. No chance. Well, sorry, less than 1%. They're not technically eliminated. They have less than 1% chance. So they need to win out, and another team needs to lose out. There's your shot. No, I can't get there. Why? What's the point? He's still not that cheap either. Like if LeBron was getting down into those Jokic price points, then I think we could have a different conversation, but I don't see that being the case. Paul George against Toronto. Yeah. I at 9,700, I like him more than a few of these other guys, but I don't see him being a priority. I don't see Kawhi being one either, but I will say that I do like Kawhi. It is a significant pace up spot against the Thunder team that leads the league in pace since the start of January, but he's your 48, 50, 52 fantasy point guy. Like once in a while he'll drop a 60 spot, but Kawhi is a much better real life player than he is a fantasy player. And that's just the truth. And the small forward position is not pretty. Like it's not pretty. You can look from top to bottom. We've got a bunch of games here. I just don't. Nobody jumps out to me as a stellar play. If Hazonia gets another start and they don't get their doors blown off, then all right, you have that. But I don't know if he will. Just looking through the rest of like this line or the position in its entirety, you're going to be hard pressed to feel good about anyone here. Karis LeVert, if you like, torturing yourself, he's there. That's never fun. His minutes are never consistent, and his production is as volatile as it comes. With Winslow, I'm pretty sure expected to sit. Then, Josh Richardson is there. Yeah, Winslow's doubtful. Adebayo is questionable. Magruder's doubtful. Okay. Yeah, there are a bunch of those guys. Like, really, I don't like anybody at this position. Kyle Kuzma is okay. You might be forced to pay up for a George or for a Kawhi Leonard just because the position is so dreadful. And the last guy I'll throw out there because he's a good player and he's priced decent is DeMar DeRozan against the Houston Rockets. Another guy where you say, maybe I just have to get some exposure to him because the rest of the position is so bleak.
Yeah, and yikes. I think it's going to be George, Leonard, or DeRozan if you are spending. If you're saving,
Chetty Osman's there. I mean,
that's where I'm going. You've got Chetty, you've got Damian Dotson, who has 30 plus in 4 of his last 5.
Justin Holiday might play 35 minutes with the injuries. Enjoy yourself.
Yeah, it's not going to feel good. It's not going to feel good. But fortunately, you're right in the deep dive on Friday, and you've got the NBA DFS strategy show that'll be going off at 9:15 with Josh Engelman and Adam Ship, my money share. Hopefully they will be talking a little bit about how Josh waxed Adam 4-0 on that Thrive Fantasy bet, because there's nothing more fun than dealing with silly stuff like me in the Fred Van Fleet contest or Fred Van Elite contest. Those guys have Thrive. You got it. We're in the grind. You got to find some little games within the game. Moving over here to power forward, we got a lot of multi-position eligibility guys we've already talked about here on DK. But guys we have not yet mentioned, you've got LaMarcus Aldridge. You have Kevin Love, who is expected to play. He is not on the injury report. He played 18 minutes in their last game. Of course, we have Tristan Thompson back and Larry Nance Jr. back as well for Cleveland, so perhaps not much upside. Tougher matchup for Pascal Siakam. You've got Danilo Gallinari. There's an intriguing one a little bit here once we try to, polish up one of these turds. Ooh, Montrezl Harrell going against Cleveland.
The L is silent.
Montrez. There we go. Thank you. That's one of the names I stumble on, unfortunately. I got Bojan Bogdanović. I can kind of get by with Giannis Antetokounmpo. I can type out Antetokounmpo as long as I don't think about it. I've written it so many damn times.
Yeah.
I don't miss that one. But, Trez has 4 straight games of 40 fantasy points. He's 6,800, Lofty. We can use him at power forward, center, or utility. Have a feeling he's going to be in a lot of our lineups. What do you like from power forward?
Yeah, look, it's Montrezl Harrell is in a good spot against Cleveland. It'll be interesting to see what the injuries situation is here. Assuming that Nance was back and Tristan Thompson is back, so it looks like everyone's fine. So it makes it a little bit less appealing, but it's certainly not terrible. Harrell's production's been great, 47, 42, 43, 42. But the minutes have been kind of all over the place. I think, you probably project him for 28 minutes here, and it's 6,800. That's not terrible. He's well over a fantasy point per minute player. So I think Harrell's pretty strong play. I don't have him as, a top option here, but definitely not a bad one. I like Kevin Love at 7,700. I mean, I would think that
28 minutes.
What's that?
28 minutes for Love.
That's the problem is, he had that apparent head injury, so I don't know if that's something that we should be concerned about. But if Love goes back to seeing decent minutes, I have him at 30. I mean, I have him at 30. He played 32 the game before that. Orlando was a monster blowout. Toronto was a blowout win, and then he played 31, 31, 29. I have him at 30, assuming everything is all right. So I don't know. I think I'm going to project him around 30, 7,700 against the bad rebounding Clippers team in a pace-up spot. Kevin Love to me makes sense. Hey, look, he's not a must play, but he's not a bad one either. Siakam had a very strong game against OKC. He's somebody that we should be considering here for sure. His price has come up a little bit, but I don't have an issue with it, especially because the top of the position, unless you're playing Giannis or LeBron or George or Leonard, who all have the same eligibility as we talked about at small forward, the mid-range isn't that deep outside of the guys we just discussed. Larry Nance with that front court actually finally getting healthy. I don't see myself getting there. I'd probably rather go to Chetty. I assume he'll still get pretty significant playing time there. The forward positions really are lacking today. Like you could roll one guy that's an interesting one would be Mason Plumlee, because they're facing they're facing the Knicks. The Knicks have gotten blown out. I mean, just absolutely trashed in each of the last two games. And Plumlee is going to play 22, 24 minutes. If it's not a blowout, this is a back-to-back. If it is a blowout and they do to the Knicks what Utah and Toronto did to them, well, then I think Plumlee would get some run. I'm not someone that likes predicting blowouts, but the way the Knicks are playing, it might be an exception. So I think Plumlee's fine. If you're looking to get just a discounted guy with a decent bit of upside, you can go ahead and do that. And then it looks like Milwaukee, if Giannis plays, they're going to be healthy enough to where we're not going to be able to go back to the well there.
All right, looking at some of the macro stuff here, Toronto does not have a back-to-back for the rest of the season, so that tends to help us out there with Kawhi. They do have a random 12 p.m. game against Miami on the Sunday, which is the second to the last day of the season. And then the Cavs don't play again until Sunday. So that does bode well for Love, Nance, and Tristan Thompson getting some minutes, because they're going to have 48 hours before their next game. And then they don't play again until Tuesday, then Thursday. They don't have a back-to-back until 2 weeks from now. So just kind of trying to give additional tea leaves that we can read. We've got those guys there. Last guy I'm going to mention is Jerami Grant. Actually seemed somewhat decent in the last game. This is a home and home for OKC and Toronto. This second half is in Toronto here, but you've got Grant, Ibaka. I'm not doing cartwheels, but we need some lineup filler here. Any thoughts at all on that duo?
Grant's going to play minutes with Westbrook back in. It doesn't help him. I mean, that huge game he had against Miami with Westbrook out, you think about it, rebounding is going to be helped because Westbrook's not there. One of the few guards that actually makes a big impact on rebounding when he's in or out. And then the scoring, he got up a lot of opportunities, a lot of shots against Toronto. He also shot 14 times, but that's I still believe it's more of an exception to the rule. Grant's fine though. He was much better when he was mid 4K, but he's fine. If you have to go there, you have to. But I'm not playing Serge Ibaka hoping he gets 23 minutes.
All right, moving on to center here. You do have Nikola Jokic at the top. He is on the back-to-back. He has averaged 32 minutes a game in the 8 back-to-backs he's played thus far. 21 points, 10 boards, 7 assists, 1.3 block steals combined. Don't really know that I want to go to him. You've also got Vooch going against Memphis, who is a shell of their former self. That one's a little bit intriguing because Orlando, let's go take a peek there. They're living on the edge here. They're a game and a half behind Miami, so they do have some playoff life left in them.
53% chance.
53% chance. So this is kind of must-win territory here for them. And Vooch has just he's been phenomenal this season. He's really taken that next step. He's got 40+ fantasy points in his last 7 games, a 63 in there, a 53 in there, the rest mid-40s. So not horrible, but not doing cartwheels. But if we're looking for some safety, I would pick him over his fellow Nikola. Jonas Valanciunas is going to be the guy there for Memphis. Laffy, if he gets the minutes, he has been phenomenal. The last game, now this was an overtime game against Houston, but he played 36 minutes, 33 points, 15 boards. Game before that, in just 28 minutes, he scored 22 points, had 8 boards. Blowout against Atlanta, that was a bit of a mess. So he only played 20 minutes. But if he's going to get 27 minutes, I think he's going to be in the conversation here. What is your early minutes projection for Valanciunas?
So he's played 93 minutes with Conley off the floor since coming to the Grizzlies. 1.38 fantasy points per minute. Pretty decent. 27.5% usage. 16% assist rate. 20% rebounding. With Conley on the floor, obviously where most of his minutes have come. JaVale is averaging 1.3 fantasy points per minute. 31.8% usage, 17% rebounding, and 12% assists. I literally just looked it up now. I didn't know what we were going to get. The sample's very small on both, but usage way higher with Conley, per minute rate higher without him. I don't care what anyone says. There's no way that over time, JaVale's not going to see higher usage with Conley off and Dorsey on. No way. That's crazy to think about. You say, what do I have him projected for? I have him projected for 28. And I can't confidently give him more than that. And the truth is, if I project him at 28 minutes, he's still going to be one of the best values on the slates, and especially at the position. It's that simple. By the way, I would be very careful on how you're projecting minutes for Mitchell Robinson. And the reason I say this is, you've seen DeAndre Jordan play 18 and 20 minutes over his last 2 games. Mitchell Robinson played 14 and then 30. Vonleh was out last game. But also, these games have been monster blowouts. Like, it's really hard to get any type of grip on what the rotation would look like if it's close. I mean, it probably won't be close. We don't have a line on this game. Actually, that's strange. We do. Denver's still playing. Usually you don't see that. It's like the Knicks are so bad that Vegas has no problem putting out a line while Denver's still playing, because it wouldn't matter who gets hurt for Denver. I mean, sure, they'd take it offline. I get it. But usually you don't see that. The Nuggets are 11-point road favorites. That's how bad this has become for the Knicks. But now, look, I like JaVale. Mitchell Robinson, though, when I say careful projecting his minutes, that doesn't mean I don't have interest in him. His price has come way down. Way down. He was up over 6K, around 65, 6,700. He's down to 4,300 because his minutes had come down. He played 30 minutes last. If Mitchell Robinson gets anywhere near 30 minutes, you're going to wish you had him in your lineup. I don't care if it's against Denver, Utah, Memphis. He blocks shots. He rebounds. You don't need to face a bad defense in order to do both of those. Joakim Noah is also always an interesting one here. His minutes came down significantly last time. Never play him with JaVale. We've seen him act. We've seen Bickerstaff give him some minutes alongside each other, but certainly not enough. It's not going to happen often, and it shouldn't happen often. It happened a couple times for very short stints. If you're not playing JaVale and you think he's going to get fewer minutes, or you're willing to take the risk, Noah Vonleh is a very, very natural pivot there that would make a lot of sense. Vucevic against Memphis. I guess. I mean, in tournaments, I understand it, because as a per minute guy, he has been so strong and his price has come down, and this game should be close. So all of that, that's good. Magic are 7-point favorites, but I don't think they run away with this game.
Yeah, if they still weren't fighting for a playoff spot, Laffy, I don't think I would go to Vooch. But yeah, because they still are,
Right.
That
And
gets me
Vogel's giving him 35 minutes a night. You know, he was on pace to have a huge game, but he never came back when they blew out who'd they blow out the other? I don't remember who it was, but they won in blowout fashion. And maybe it was Cleveland. I can't even remember. Unimportant.
I was just looking here to see what Noah's assists have been recently, and they haven't. For a center, they've been fine. He's averaging about 3.5, 4 assists per game over his last 15, just eyeballing it. But they're down so many ball handlers, maybe he sees some facilitation from the wing or the post. The one guy I think we do want to talk about is Clint Capela, and despite having missed a ton of games there with thumb surgery, with that broken thumb, he still has managed to play all 3 games thus far against the Spurs. The Spurs are even weaker in the pivot, if that is possible, but he has averaged 32 minutes per game and just shy of 50 fantasy points for Capela. Not been as great as we would have wanted since he's come back, but he's hitting mid-30s with consistency, and that's what I like to see. 7,400 on DraftKings. We know they priced the centers at a bit of a discount there. We can play 2 of them. I'd love to see Clint Capela in some of my lineups against San Antonio, because I can just envision Paul or Harden dumping it off into the post him, and who is it? Pirtle? Is it Pirtle? Pirtle,
yeah.
No chance against Capela, in my opinion.
The only issue I have is the Spurs, since returning home from that road trip, have been just a brick wall defensively. I mean, they went from that road trip for about a month and a half straight being one of the worst defenses in the league by defensive rating. Now they have the second best defensive rating since they came back home over the last 10 games, over the last month. I'm not saying Capela can't put up big numbers here. I'm sure he can, but I also don't know if he's fully healthy. So there's a few things that have me a little bit concerned. Clearly he's still getting big minutes. But I guess the thing for me is, are there better pivots? And one that I want to throw out there is if Bam Adebayo doesn't play, I will likely have Hassan Whiteside in every lineup. I mean, I don't care. I absolutely will. Don't care who he's facing. Whiteside at 5K. If he gets even 26 minutes, you don't have to worry about any of that. I mean, you look at him on a per minute basis. Like on the season, it's funny because he's not getting minutes, but this guy on the year is a 1.41 fantasy point per minute guy. Give him 25 minutes there. He's at 35 fantasy points. Even 25 minutes and he gives you 32 at 5K. If Bam Adebayo sits, I will have as much Whiteside as I possibly can. And I don't see any reason why anyone wouldn't want to have as much Whiteside as possible, no matter the matchup.
Yeah, excellent call out there. In the 3 games against the Bucks this season, he's only playing 24 minutes, but he's averaging 12 shots a game, 14, just shy of 15 points per game, and just shy of 11 rebounds per game for just over 30 fantasy points. So that's a nice call out there. I think that's going to wrap it up for us here, Dave. Nothing else exciting. How's your brackets going?
No, I don't really do brackets. I'm not a college guy.
I did one. I always do one every year.
Yeah, I did one, and I'm pretty sure I was toast a long time ago.
Well, let's see. Last year, my team to win it all, I think, was Virginia, and they lost in the first round. First time a 16 seed has ever beat a 1 seed.
That was a fun game.
Yeah, this year I went with Duke because Duke. And then I had Auburn losing to Duke in the finals. Auburn won by 1 point. That went down to the wire and was completely in question for the last 5 minutes, Laffy.
Yeah.
So I'm at least alive until Saturday before things get destroyed with my brackets.
Do you have no losses yet?
I'm 6-8 right now, or at least when I looked before we started recording.
6 of 8?
6 winning. two losses.
Oh, okay. You said 6 and 8. I was going to say that's not
6
good.
of 8.
Okay, and I was going to say, have there been 14 games? Yeah. Okay, 6 of 8. Not bad. Not bad.
Yeah, by about 11:45 midnight. Yes, there will have been that many games today.
Right. Yeah, it's a crazy first night. It's pretty fun.
But anyway, all right, we're going to get on out of here. But a reminder, check that pinned tweet over there on Osmo_com. That's Osmo_com at Twitter. And you will see how you and 2 friends can have a chance to win 30 free days of full access to all Osmo premium content. Follow the instructions on that tweet, and you will have a chance for the big drawing. I think we're going to do that early next week. It is the spring break, which I'm assuming most schools are about done here with spring break. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Loughy_D. That's LOUGHY_D. I am at EMAC DFS. With that, gamers.
One more real quick. JaVale McGee's minutes over his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games. Okay. This is starting back from 6 games ago, working up to his last one. 16 minutes, 33 minutes, 19 minutes, 30 minutes, 19 minutes, 32 minutes. So if I see what Walton's trying to do here, probably getting 19 minutes from McGee, which is unfortunate because he's facing a Brooklyn defense that he should be able to put up monster numbers against. If you think we break the streak and McGee plays 30 plus or even close to that for 2 straight games for the first time since like October, well, then McGee is probably someone that you want to have on your radar because it is a premier spot. It's just obviously a lot of risk associated with rostering a guy that plays less than 20 minutes every other game.
All right, just for fun, how old do you think McGee is and how many years in the league?
Well, he's had to have been in the league for, let's see, 11.
Yep, nice work.
Am I right? 11?
You're right.
Whoo. All right. 29 years old.
He's
30, hold on. 31 years old.
31. He's 31.
Oh, all right, got it.
All right.
And I'm not looking at anything. Not looking.
No, and what the hell happened to the ESPN player pages?
Horrible. I'm
going to say it. They fucked them up.
Yeah, so bad. I'll tell you what. And I had mentioned it on the strategy, and maybe I forget what I mentioned. That I use it for quick things. If I want a quick drop down to find the player, like a quick game log search, right? Mm-hmm. Or like you said, you're going like Basketball Reference is my go-to for most stuff, but for real rudimentary, like simple, like whatever, we want to see that draft or how old they are real quick. You go to that because they have the drop down, right? The drop down was real nice. And it was just every team over drop down to the players. It is so terrible right now that I've stopped. I don't know why they did it like this. It's awful.
No, they screwed up their fantasy sports so bad this season. I've been playing there for 20 years, and back when they did Uber Scoring, I was one of the top gamers there, and I won 2 trips to the All-Star game for baseball. Right. So I love ESPN. Can't stand it. We're moving our leagues to other stuff now for baseball because they've shit the bed on it.
Like they want you to move. They want you to stop playing there, and they want you to stop using everything.
Yeah, they don't. So my point being, so they have the age. They don't say how many years the player's been in the league anymore.
I know.
That is a basic God blessed thing.
I know. Well, look, good thing sports aren't their primary focus over there at ESPN. So, they've got a lot of other things.
And they also stopped showing games not played. So if you go to the game log, it just shows, oh my God, quick. Oh, when did he last miss a game? I can't tell because there's a 4-week gap here, but it doesn't show how many games they missed,
Wait. Are you talking about the newest one?
Yeah, the one today. So if you go look at...
So where it used to have a 0 for minutes played.
Correct.
You could see, they got rid of that.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah. That's terrible because you could do a quick... That's the thing. Like I would use that and then I'd go to Popcorn Machine. You know what I mean? You use that to see which ones they sat instead of look at. That's horrible. I don't know why. I don't know why they do it.
No, it's they lost all their stalwart fantasy guys who were behind the scenes, and I knew a ton of them just because I beta tested a bunch of stuff for them over the years and all that. But it's a mess. It's disappointing because these are easy gimmies. Like Laffy, they don't even tell you. So rotisserie sports season long, you have game caps. by position or whatever number of pitchers started or number of players at point guard or games played at point guard. They don't have that anymore, even though that's in the rules.
Yeah.
So you have no idea if you're above pace, you're below pace, whatever it is, you don't know.
And the thing is, the easiest way not to have screwed that up is not to have done anything at all with all of these things. Just leave it alone. Yeah, I hate it. I'm done.
All right. With that, gamers, you got two salty guys, one really old guy, and Loppy standing on his front porch right now yelling, "Get off my lawn." With that, gamers, good luck.
That's right.